let me start first of all by saying to you what a remarkable job the university did this year. We did an absolutely amazing job, and it's because of the people who live here every day. We had no major outbreak, and at no point did we have to revert from living and learning on campus to online. We saw about 204 students return to residence. We have on an annual basis approximately 400 students. So you can see we had about half of our students return to campus. We provided a mixture of Zoom and online, Zoom and in person. For students who wanted to come on campus and be in person, they were allowed to do that. And for those students who chose to stay at home, we provided educational experiences for them. But I just want to reiterate, it's just amazing to think that we had 200 students on campus and we had no major outbreaks. Now, did we have cases? Yes, but we had no major outbreaks, so that was good. This year taught us a lot. You think you understand the academic world, you think you understand your students, you think you understand all the things that they deal with, but we learned a lot. We learned a lot about online learning. One of the things that we instituted this year that we had not had on campus before is that we moved from a in-person support center where we provide students academic learning supports, help with their writing, tutors for their courses. We hired a third party this year called Tutor Me, and Tutor Me provides 24/7 tutoring for our students. And it's been very successful. And what we learned is that our adult students are more likely to take advantage of the supports available to help them with their writing and with their work if it's not in person. And so I think that will continue well beyond COVID. We also learned that it's really easy to try to get help with your exams if you're at home and can drop your camera. So we ended up purchasing a third-party product called Proctor Track, which allowed us to monitor students their test taking. Now, interesting about that is something that we never thought of. We should have, but we never thought of was privacy issues. So the faculty and the staff worked through that, and we were able to manage being in someone's home by providing them the privacy that they so much desired. We really were very attentive this year to monitoring student progress. Lots of kudos to the faculty and the staff. I think that probably every student on this campus got a call once a week to say, how you doing? What do you need? How can we support you? Do you need to take a break? Because we came back in both semesters, we came back for the first 2 weeks in residence only if you were on campus. We were locked down to provide a period of time for the disease to show itself and for us to identify students who were affected before we went into classes. And then we never stopped. So in November, in the fall, we went from just before Labor Day, right straight through until the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. And in the spring, we went from Martin Luther King Day straight through to the end of April. So the students and the faculty saw no breaks. The only break they had in the spring was Good Friday. So it worked for us. It kept the students on campus, which kept our disease load low. We certainly monitored regularly. The faculty were wonderful about it, monitored the spaces in which the students were learning, and that all worked out. Obviously, when you implement all sorts of new things like new tutoring modules and new proctoring modules, and we had to take a hard look this year on policies that go with that. So we spent a lot of time looking at policies and revising policies so that the students had a clear understanding of what was expected of them. I'm pleased to share with you that the PsyD program was fully approved by the APA this year, the American Psychological Association, making St. Elizabeth the only institution in the state of New Jersey to be fully accredited at the doctoral level for psychology, and one of only 40 programs in the United States. I think you should be very proud of your alma mater. The psychology faculty worked very hard to attain that status. And so what we've seen this fall with that accreditation is an increase in students interested in the program. We also saw the nursing department we had a virtual nursing accreditation review this year, which was quite interesting. But that was to support our BSN program, our traditional undergraduate BSN program. And we also recently started a master's program in nursing administration and management. And they also received high praise and were fully accredited. I want to share with you so that you know the mission is alive and well in the university. You know, whenever you have individuals attend the university for any purpose who are not familiar with us, it's interesting to see what they see. And throughout the psychology department's review, the PsyD program's review, there were multiple accolades about how we are a model for other programs with regard to how we implement social justice across the curriculum and how we ask the students to live that social justice in their clinical lives. Similarly, the nursing program, when accredited, received similar accolades. And I would also share with you that we've had the physician's assistant accreditors here several times. They visit us about every 6 months until we graduate a class. And after we graduate a class, we'll receive full accreditation. But they're here about every 6 months to check on what we're doing. And again, high praise for the work of the physician's assistant program as it responds to the university's mission. This year, the faculty decided they jump on board with everybody else. They've been waiting and waiting and waiting for a space to have their own teaching and learning center where they can have resources available to them to help them with a myriad of different types of teaching strategies as well as techniques. And they decided to jump on board and they made their teaching learning center virtual. I'm very excited. The faculty took complete control over it. The faculty are developing their own resources. They're providing at least a program a month. They're educating their adjunct faculty on best practices that they're using in the classrooms, and that's been going very, very well. We developed this year a new honors program. We now have an honors program that completes in 3 years if the student chooses. The honors program provides a variety of high quality classes and experience for students who are highly accelerated. We've already admitted for the fall 11 students to that honors program. It's an admission program. You apply at the time you apply to the university, and we have 11 students moving into that program. The name of the game in higher education for small institutions now is collaboration and cooperation. And so more and more and more you will hear over the ensuing years that we're finding more ways to work with other people to reduce cost, increase efficiencies, and make us much more available. And so this year we joined a consortium of 49 schools across the United States who are all small private colleges to share majors. And so it's a model where we pay $35 per head for the student. We get the rest of the tuition, and the student $350 for each student who participates. We receive the rest of the tuition, and our students are able to take majors in a variety of programs across the United States. This past fall, we had 9 students who enrolled in the consortium to participate in gaming, which is the hot thing now. And so it's been very successful, and we're looking to expand that. So any major another institution has, our students can potentially log on and join that major. So it just opens up so much more to us. We said goodbye this fall or this spring to our college chaplain. Our college chaplain has been with us for 3 years. He's just finished an advanced degree and is moving into a clinical practice. And I'm pleased to share with you that we've just signed a contract with a new chaplain who will also be teaching in the religious studies department. As you know, I like to rag on our students and talk about how great they are, but to share with you just how really excited we are here with the quality of students that we have, particularly in our STEM programs. I know some of you have asked questions over the years, what's happened to the STEM programs? Is that we've had a large STEM grant now for 3 years. And the students who are in it are called our STEM scholars. It was a federal grant, a National Science Foundation grant. For those of you who are familiar with the federal level, not National Science Foundation, it's very difficult to get one of those grants. And we, in fact, got one of those grants as part of a consortium for other colleges. And our students competed this spring with students in all of those institutions around science projects. And I'm going to read you the name of this. I have no idea what her project was because it sounds like it's Greek to me, but those of you who are science majors probably would know what this means. but it's called The Role of Branched Actin in Transport of Cadherin via RME-1 Trafficking Vesicles. And she won over all the schools. She was the top student. You know, it was just amazing. Rachel is amazing. She's our student government president. But Rachel won. And when she told me the name, I said, write it down. Because I would never have remembered that. I haven't asked her to explain it. I'm afraid it would be, way over my pay grade. But for those of you who are science majors, I'm sure you appreciate the work that she did. I'm pleased to share with you that we have cleared the next to the last hurdle to open a speech and language pathology program. We in fact it will be voted on Monday by the New Jersey President's Council, which is all the presidents in the state of New Jersey. And once that is done, we are planning to open the speech and language pathology program in the fall of 23. The program will be unusual in that it's a 3+2 program. Students will do their first 3 undergraduate years in a communications related major, and then their 2 clinical years in the speech and language pathology program. We will be the only program in New Jersey offering that model. I also want to let you know that this past fall, we received $2.3 million in a Title V grant to support Latino students' retention and graduation. The students are now being admitted to that program. It will formally start this fall. And I just can't commend enough the faculty for the hard work they're doing to continue to make sure that everybody knows who St. Elizabeth is. I do have to step back for a minute and take a little bit of bragging rights. When we were putting the speech and language pathology program through, every university in the state of New Jersey has the opportunity to comment. And our colleagues at Seton Hall commented and said that they didn't want us to open the program. And everybody here went crazy and said, Seton Hall, they don't want us to open this. And I said, you all should be so excited that Seton Hall sees St. Elizabeth as competition for them. We're all on that. We are very proud of the fact that everybody recognizes that we have lots of talented students who want to come here and participate in our academic experience. And to think that somebody's trying to decide between St. Elizabeth and Seton Hall, I'm all about it. So, and we want to keep up good competition between our institutions. On the enrollment front, as you might imagine, just like we're all on Zoom, enrollment was all on Zoom this year. And I have to tell you, high school kids are tired of it. They're really, really tired of it. So right now I can say to you that our traditional numbers of deposits are behind. It's very hard to get the kids to commit right now. All they want to do is make sure that you're not going to be online and that they're going to be able to have an in-person experience, which we announced about a month ago. So we are planning to be fully open in the fall and have a personal experience for the students. Interesting though, even though we saw a slight dip in our enrollment during COVID, we saw an increased number of students returning. So typically students would transfer. We saw a much lower rate of transfer than we have seen in my 8 years here. We believe that's primarily because why should I go to another school to Zoom? I can Zoom here. I think the other reason is that the students were getting incredible attention from the faculty and staff and really felt that and knew that we really cared about them staying. Our year-over-year retention rates continue to be very good. Our first-time freshman retention rate increased this past year by 6%. Our continuing studies retention rate increased by 13%, and our graduate students increased by 9%. All very, very healthy signs that we're providing an education that's very desirable to students. And let me just say this, obviously, as you might expect, our adult students have been very challenged this year. Trying to work full-time, teach their kids at home, and go to school became overwhelming for many of them. And so again, lots of touching and reaching out to them, encouraging them to continue or to step away until the situation improved. We were just recently notified by the state government that we've been picked to be a model institution in providing online learning to the EOF program. For those of you who don't know what EOF is the Equal Opportunity Fund, which is the program in the state of New Jersey, which is available to students who are at risk in some way. They're at risk because of their financial circumstances, because of their personal circumstances, or because of the academic challenges. And because of the work that we had done this year with the EOF program, moving it online, We've been awarded $46,000 from the state government to continue our work and to advance that work and begin to share it with others in the state of New Jersey as a best practice. We also just were invited by Senator Menendez this week to ask for something that we wouldn't necessarily ask for. For those of you who know about the government, earmarks are back in the budget. And so Senator Menendez reached out to us and said, what do you want? And so we've asked Senator Menendez to help us refurbish Highland Hall. Those of you who remember fondly Highland Hall, it probably looks the same. So we'd like to refurbish Highland Hall. And so if we get the grant, that's what we'll do. We'll make it a state-of-art facility, very much like the Reynos Auditorium, if any of you have been on campus and seen what happened to the old, I always called it the fishbowl. That's not what it's called though. You'll all remind me later. We have been on the map this year in terms of conferences and events. We couldn't do conferences and we couldn't do events, but we have become a location for TV and movies. So I don't know how many of you know this or read it in my monthly update, but the Chicago 7 was filmed here. Part of the Chicago 7 was filmed here, as is FBI's Most Wanted. And we're now waiting to fulfill 2 other contracts for TV programs on campus. I'm a little worried about upgrading the facilities because in some cases we actually get these movie contracts because they're looking for places that look like 1950s. But that's not going to hold us back from moving forward. As a result of our efforts in bringing film to the campus, we were chosen this year by Unique Venues, which is a regional group, as the best venue for a movie or film. So we're hoping we get lots of notoriety. Maybe someday we'll have the Oscars on our campus. We can, use the Greek Theater as a place. Very exciting, not necessarily for those of us who are too old to know what we're talking about, but for those who are on the call who are younger, we're opening an esports arena. Our esports arena is finished. Esports is competition in playing video games. It is a beautiful space. I think we've had some pictures on Facebook and on Instagram. I don't think we've had any pictures. I don't think we posted any pictures yet in our monthly newsletter, but stay tuned. You should see those. It's a beautiful space. The students almost took Kathy Buck to task many times this spring because they wanted to get in there. But we weren't allowing them in because of the COVID issues. So in the fall, they in fact will be allowed into that esports area. And by the way, it's actually a burgeoning area for majors. And so we will be looking at majors that complement the esports area. So be more than just a place to play games. As I said to you before, collaboration and cooperation is the future of higher education. We joined with Drew University last year to provide security between our 2 campuses. So the head of security for the 2 campuses is an employee of St. Elizabeth. We now have all of the safety and security men and women who work for us really work between each of those campuses, and it's been remarkable. Drew has learned a lot from us. Drew used to have a police force and they didn't really like that they had a police force. They thought that people were a little heavy-handed. They've now adapted to a security force model and it's going great. So we've just signed a 3-year contract between our institutions to continue that. Similarly, we're a little light on the health services side. They have a lot more personnel than we do on the health services side. So we've just signed a contract so that their nurse practitioners can share care with our students. And so another great thing in terms of our cooperation. We're hoping the day will come when our health services will be together. And so that the health services for Drew and St. Elizabeth will be one health service. I can't commend enough the IT folks this year. People in the information technology did an amazing job mailing laptops, mailing iPads, mailing cameras, making sure students had hotspots to make sure that our students had equal opportunities to do their work. They have been just amazing. I think they're tired, and yet there's lots to do to get ready for the fall. We will start in the fall a computer loaner program for all of our students. So any freshman entering in this fall is required to rent a computer from the university unless they can demonstrate that they have the same quality of computer that we're going to be providing. And this is really part of what we learned in COVID about just the unevenness of technology among our student base. And so by providing every student with the same equipment, it helps us with managing if we have to be out. And now what we've learned is, of course, a student has no reason to be sick anymore, right? A student can just log in and join class between sniffles or between runs to the bathroom or whatever they need to do. No more snow days. You know, so it's a changed world. We can work 365 days a year. I will also share with you that we have been very aggressive in using money that we have received from the federal government. We've received almost $5 million in stimulus money from the federal government. And if you have been following this program at all, the 1/2 of every dollar we receive has to go directly to the student, no questions asked. So the student has the opportunity to apply for the money. And generally the areas that they they do have to answer questions. I was incorrect. It has to be for technology, healthcare, food, shelter, medical care. There's one other, but they just have to
transportation.
Transportation. They just have to check the box, and then we send them a check for that money. The rest of the money we've been using to make sure that all of our facilities around technology are up to date. We've increased our bandwidth. We've increased the number of access points on our campus. We've increased anything you can imagine. All of our labs have been refurbished. All of our faculty now have laptops because we were forced to do that during COVID, so they wouldn't have to take home boxes. So we've moved very, very aggressively in that way. We're going into the fall with about $3.5 million of that money available to us to use in the next year to support incoming students. And so things are going pretty well. As I reported to the board yesterday, we're going to finish the year with about $140,000 surplus. So we've done very well in the face of COVID and students not returning. But I certainly don't want to say it was all on us, because without the support of the federal government, if you have the opportunity to thank our legislators, please do so, all of your legislators, because they all stepped up to support higher education, which has been absolutely priceless in terms of us continuing to do the work that we do. We're in negotiations with the mayor in Morristown for our own baseball field. And so we've been having conversations with the mayor. We'll share it with this town. We're not going to build a new field. But I'm hoping to wrap that up before the end of the month, before I leave. Pray that it happens. I don't want to have to pass that off to somebody else. In the institutional advancement area, thank you, thank you, thank you. You've all been so very generous. And for those who haven't had the time to make a donation, you still have till June 30th. But we're about $20,000 ahead of our annual fund goal. And I want to thank each and every one of you for that. As I shared, $2.3 million from the federal government. We received $30,000 from the Endowment for the Humanities to develop an environmental ethics program. We've received about $50,000 of scholarship money for students in the nursing department, and we continue to raise dollars. I will share with you that last night, my board of trustees, my husband and I endowed a scholarship. And last night, my parting gift was the board of trustees contributed $56,000 to the scholarship that my husband and I started. And so we were excited just that between my husband and I and our kids, we were able to put a scholarship together. But now we have a scholarship like many of you have, so that we can continue to support our students. I don't think I stopped crying for about 30 minutes. Because, you know, $80,000 goes a lot further than $30,000. So I was very excited about their helping us. You all know about our social media, and you should let us know if you're not happy with our social media, because we work very hard at keeping you abreast on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, and then certainly our electronic newsletter. If you're not getting our electronic newsletter each month, please let Joe know. Drop it in the chat right now, and he'll make sure that you get it on a monthly basis. My swan song is coming up. They're going to make me do one more. And so it will be my last one. And I will share with all of you some reflections about my time while I was here. We're so excited about Dr. Crosby coming. Dr. Crosby is our incoming president. He and I have been meeting for the past 8 weeks. He and I meet for about 2 hours a week. so that when he hits the ground, nothing stops, that everything just continues the way that it is. Dr. Crosby is a first-generation college student himself. He and his wife are very familiar with the issues that come with being a first-generation student, and is very much committed to the mission and values of the institution. And so we are very excited to have him arrive. I'm not so happy he threw me out of the house, but what can I say? You know, when you're on your way out, you're on your way out. They just help you pack your bags and throw them in the back of the bus. We've had a wonderful year for mission. We have done almost all of our traditional mission events online. We had our speaker series related to mission online. We've had regular prayer meetings every Monday. We have prayer at lunchtime. I see Lynn's here. Lynn and I have often joined the Monday prayers for minorities, those folks who've been marginalized in society. That's our Monday. We do that Monday at noon. We have had our priest on tap has continued. So the students have had access to our college chaplain to talk about things that are important to them. And we even did a search retreat. So the students went on a retreat this spring, despite our COVID limitations. Oh, so much to tell you. I could go on and on and on. And my sister said to me yesterday, she said, if you don't come down, you're just going to crash, because I'm flying so high about how good everything is right now. I'm so excited for COVID to be over. Our faculty and staff in the student life department took advantage of this year to spend the year training. They are all now professionally trained mental health first aid workers. They took the opportunity because it was online. They didn't have to go to some place. You know, usually we couldn't send them all because they had to go off campus together. But we're very excited about that. If you keep up in the news, mental health is a huge challenge for young people these days. And so the more folks that we have on campus who recognize the early signs of mental health challenges, the more likely we are to intervene before the student has any serious problems. We finished our strategic plan and started a new strategic plan this year. It's really an extension of the strategic plan we started a few years ago. And we made that decision because I was departing. The new president should really have the opportunity to build his own strategic plan. So we're focusing on many of the areas that we've been focused on: retention, enrollment, and maintaining a solid financial base. We had our graduation on May 7th. It was a very unique event. The students, we wanted to give the students an in-person experience. And so we were under the governor's restrictions. For those of you who no longer live in New Jersey, we couldn't have more than 50 people in any space inside. And so we took advantage of it. So we did, some would call it a drive-by graduation or a parking lot graduation. So what happened is every student was assigned a parking space in an Annunciation Center in various parking lots around campus. And then what they did is they were live streamed the stage experience. So everything that happened on stage was live streamed. When it came time for graduation, the students were allowed to bring as many people as they wanted into the auditorium to receive their diplomas. So it was wonderful because traditionally they have tickets. They can only bring 3 or 4 people or 5 people. Last year, they could only bring 2. So this year they came in their pod. So the students walked into Dolan Hall with their pod, walked down, walked the stage and got their diplomas, and all their family was there with them. Our focus really wanted to be on the students because the students really had a tough year. By the way, so did the faculty. The students want to do it again. They like tailgating graduation, they told me. We had donuts out there. We had coffee. It was really a lot of energy and fun. As I said, you know, certainly somewhat in conclusion, but I want to, just reiterate, it was an incredible effort by so many people on this campus this year to keep the campus safe. We really worked with 3 teams: the president's cabinet, we had an emergency response team, and we had a planning and recovery team. And those teams, as of this time last summer, we were meeting every day. It got to every week, and then it got to every 2 weeks, and ultimately we were doing a lot less. The cabinet, however, probably met at least 2 or 3 times a week, either informally or formally, to keep abreast of everything that was changing. You should be very proud of your alma mater. I'm going to look down to read these. I apologize because I want to get them all right. But again, this year we were ranked 19 in the nation for the best online master's program in criminal justice. We were by LendU, which is an organization that tracks student debt. We were identified as one of the nation's best schools for financial aid, including being second among public and private universities in New Jersey. We were also ranked as among the lowest student loan debt, and we were number 3 in New Jersey. US World Report ranked us as one of New Jersey's private and public schools that was a top performer on social mobility, meaning how much you came, when you came, what was your parents' income, and how likely are you to do much better when you graduate. We've been recognized for the 4th or 5th year in a row by colleges of distinction. We've been recognized as a Catholic college, as a college to come for business, a college to come to for education, a college to come to for nursing. In the area of career development, we received kudos. So it's a long time that we've been recognized as a college of distinction. We were also ranked 2nd in New Jersey among best colleges and universities in the Northeast by Money Magazine for, by the Washington Monthly for best bang for your buck, meaning, you get more for what you pay for than what you actually spend. We were also ranked 3rd in New Jersey in private colleges by Money Magazine for the best college for your money, similar ranking. And so, we really, these external adulations really give great lift to the work that the faculty and the staff do. I also want to share with you, we received a communications award this year called the Cubby Award, and we received it for the best magazine. And we also received it for the best campaign. So the campaign that we did announcing the movement from college to university, we were recognized for those stories. And let me just say before I stop, because if I forget, I will be miserable with myself. I hope that you all are proud of your institution. I am so indebted to each and every one of you for your continuing commitment to the institution, for your personal contributions, for your financial contributions, time and talent. We very much appreciate it. I see some of you on the Zoom are people who support our students in our mentoring program. I see others of you who are on Zoom today who have worked with admissions to help us with admissions events. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I hope that you give Dr. Crosby all the support that you've given me.
In the questions that we received, there were a couple of themes, and Helen has certainly touched on the first one, and I think there might be a little bit of follow-up in it, which was about transition in the presidency. So Helen talked about the meetings that she and Dr. Crosby have been having, and maybe Helen, just a thought there, I know there's a transition team and we've got inauguration scheduled, and anything else that you want to talk about that?
Needless to say, I tell Dr. Crosby all the time, my legacy is now in his hands. So he better be ready for what's coming. And so, as I said, we've met for 2 hours a week for almost 2 months now. He has also begun meeting, and I've met with his new Vice President of Academic Affairs. We have a transition in that position. And so he's begun meeting with her. He has also begun meeting with a transition team. The board has developed a transition team, which includes faculty, staff, students, alumni, Sisters of Charity. And so there's about a 13-member team that will work with him throughout his first year to introduce him to the community, to introduce him to the culture of St. Elizabeth, and to introduce him to all of those things that are important for the president as he gets started. There's also a plan for him to spend 2 days with the board in September, talking deeply and richly about where we are and where we're going. And so that will also happen. The inauguration committee is together. Lynn McHenry is on the call. Lynn is an alum, but also a faculty member. Lynn and a staff person are together leading the inauguration, which will be in October. We'll soon see something about saving the date. And we've also introduced Gary to the bishop. He's been introduced to Catholic higher education folks He's been introduced to colleagues of mine who I think can be beneficial to him as he comes on board. So we're trying to give him, not trying, we're going to give him just as much information and just as many resources as we possibly can give him. So I'm very pleased. We actually, the board had a dinner for me last night, and we were laughing because the board said, you know, Helen, when we came, we didn't know what to do. And so I had no transition. So maybe we've overdone his, but we're making sure that his transition for he and his family is good here. And by the way, when you got me, you got your first lay person. You're about to get your first lay baby, because Dr. Crosby's wife is due in July, and there will be a first baby who will now be on campus. So look forward to that. I know he is.
Helen, another theme that's come up from a few different questions of people talking about whether it's in the student life area or faculty or mission or whatever comes to mind for you. What are a couple of things that you really feel best about, most proud about when you just think about the time in the community and with the internal community, external community? You've touched so many lives, and it's sort of open-ended, but a lot of people have been wondering about that.
Well, like many of you, it's about the students. It's the students, the students, the students. And so when we think about the people who walk the stage, you know, I've been touched in the past couple of days how many people have reached out to talk about what St. Elizabeth has meant to them. And, you know, that's the legacy. You know, the legacy is we are deeply invested in the people who come here, and we want to make sure that they get what they need so that they can move on successfully for their lives. You know, the board had asked me to do what I called the laundry list. And I would certainly share some of the things on the list that I have shared with them. But I want to say first and foremost that it's not about me, because all I did was get in the boat and say, we're going. It was up to everybody else to get in and row. So when we look at the new programs that we've opened, you know, certainly we've opened 11 new undergraduate programs. We've opened 4 new graduate programs. We've opened 2 doctoral programs. And I want to share with you all, those of you who've been around for a while, Weekend College is back. We will offer our first doctoral program in Weekend College in probably 20 years. So that will happen this fall. I think that the thing that is the biggest transition is I can assure you today that the Board of Trustees has a much deeper understanding of the institution than they did 8 years ago. And that doesn't have so much to do with the board as it has to do with the board's confidence in the Sisters of Charity. So as long as the Sister of Charity was sitting in this chair, the board felt that the university would be in great shape forever and they didn't need to know everything about the institution. We don't operate that way anymore. The board knows a lot more and much more deeply about the institution and the things that are sitting on the horizon for us, our successes, our concerns. And I think that that's been a real learning for all of us over these past 8 years. Needless to say, university status. The board gave us permission to do this in my 2nd year. And I said, we're not doing it until we're ready. And so we had a lot of things to do to get ready. And so by the time we made that transition, I wish we'd made it 1 year earlier, since COVID kind of took the wind out of our sails. But by the time we made that decision, I feel that we can feel proud about calling ourselves a university, and that it's not just a title. It's about really being a full-fledged institution with academics and research and high quality programs and opportunities for students that are much deeper than they were then. So those are the big things. I mean, I certainly could talk about, you know, $18.3 million worth of renovations. The place looks great. We continue to want to do more renovations because we have a campus that's 122 years old. There's a lot of things to do. And finally, I would say more important to all of this is the deep sense of mission. You know, when I interviewed here, Lynn might remember this because Lynn chauffeured me around a lot when I came on as president. When I chauffeured around a lot, I was amazed at the students and how eloquently the students could talk about what a CSE education meant to them. As I shared yesterday with the board, one of the things that I've been most impressed with, and it's really been highlighted by people who come to campus, accreditors, is that we live what we say we do. And so that everybody here walks the talk about how important social justice is. how important it is to make sure that we stay strong in our Catholicity, how important it is to make sure that we provide those students who have had not had access to higher education the opportunity to finish. And so all of those things really make up who we are. You know, I share with people often, it's not about what comes down from the top, it's what breeds within all of us. And I can honestly say to you, if you come here and you work for 3 months, or if you come here as a student and you're here for 3 months, you'll figure out whether or not this is the right place for you. You want a party school, this isn't the place. If you want a school to learn deeply about yourself and about opportunities and to get in touch with how you might provide leadership and service to others, this is the place.
Great. Thank you, Helen. The real, I guess I should have said, there's 4 themes. The third one, which you just touched on, was really the Catholic identity, mission. And so someone asked if you'd met the new bishop. So I know you spent some time with him. Got any comments or thoughts there as well?
Bishop Kevin Sweeney is the best. He was here for, just a couple of months. And I called him up and said, come see. I said, can I see you? He says, no, let me come see you. So Bishop Kevin came to campus. We had lunch together in the midst of COVID. He walked the campus. He met some students. We haven't had the bishop do our commencement mass in 8 years, even though we invited Bishop Serratelli every year. Bishop Kevin came. He's bilingual, so he walked outside and talked to our parents and families who speak Spanish. He held babies. He hugged students. It was just a remarkable experience. And he's really going to be a partner to the university. And certainly I understand the differences in career development. Bishop Serratelli was a lot longer in years in administration in the church than Father Kevin is. Every now and then they tug on Father Kevin's arm and say he's got to move on. Because he's young, he's he's a young guy right out of a parish in Brooklyn, and he is just a wonder. He's already agreed to do our commencement next year, so we're very happy. We're on the books, but it's going to be a great relationship. And as I said, I've already introduced Dr. Crosby to Bishop Sweeney. They're meeting in person on July 7th. And so I think it's going to be a great transition. It goes without saying that he'll have an orientation to the Sisters of Charity. Sister Maureen's reached out to him. The leadership team has reached out to him. They've already had some conversations. So that's all good.
Absolutely. And the final theme, which is definitely an overarching one, and you've touched on this already in some ways, people have been asking about, what opportunities and exciting things do you see ahead? There's a lot of things that have started during these last 8 years that Dr. Crosby were working with, things that you and the board and the faculty and teams have set up, and you've mentioned speech and language pathology. What else do you see ahead that you'll be watching with very interested eyes on?
Well, I made a commitment to the board and I made a commitment to Dr. Crosby. I'm going to watch from afar because I think it's really important that he gets to come and put his mark on this institution. I also told the board yesterday when they asked me to set the priorities for him, I said they're his priorities and not mine. And so it's very important for him to get a feel for who we are and to decide what he wants to carry forward. In my conversations with him, he's incredibly committed to the legacy of the institution in terms of women. Both of his children are girls. And we talked a lot. His oldest daughter is very involved in music, and he was very interested in the dip in our music program and what did I think might have to happen in order to build a more robust music department. So I think you might see some of the arts gain some more momentum during his time. But again, the horizon for the university is there for the taking. I think I'm leaving the institution in a good space. I think there's great opportunities. I think that it is the people here were here before I came, lots of them. They're going to be here after I leave. So they're going to make sure he understands the direction and the priorities for the institution. And I trust in God, and I really do believe that he will do a remarkable job based on the input that he gets from all of you, not just the students, the faculty and staff, but I know that he will make lots of outreach to you all to hear about your alma mater. And as I've shared with people, it's all about hearing your stories. because your stories informed how I led here. So thank you. And I will miss each and every one of you. I hated that I couldn't get to Florida this year. I hated that we couldn't do the things that we usually do. But, you know, I know in my heart and soul that this is about your commitment to this institution. And I know that you will continue to embrace it and love it as you have done in the past. And, you know, now I'm an alum. So, you know, now I'm going to give Joe a hard time about everything. I'm going to call him up every time I don't like something, and let him know. But really, thank you, each and every one of you. You've been such a blessing to me, and I could not have accomplished what I've accomplished without every person who has touched my life while I was here or touched the university's life. So thank you.